Hey! Hey everyone! Welcome to another episode of Show Us Your Shit. This is the 7th episode. We've got an awesome one tonight. If you've been watching this since the get-go, since we started 7 days ago, thank you so much for tuning in again. Really excited about tonight's episode. And it's going to be the last episode for a while, because tomorrow I'm having a baby with my wife. We're going to hospital to have a baby. And so it's going to be the last episode for a few nights, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 2 days. We don't know. I'll keep you guys updated as we go along. But yeah, so a few things to know before we start. I'm going to be uploading all of the previous episodes onto YouTube. So if you haven't seen any of the other episodes, they're going to be up there while we're not here. That's mainly it. Very excited about Shit Club. Shit Club is where we ask you guys, everyone who's watching this, to send us your shit. Thank you for sending off the back of last night's episode. So we asked for books that you have that are slightly shit in your bookshelf collection at home. I've got a few to show you later in the episode. But in the meantime, we're going to be talking to two amazing people tonight. This is like a power couple of Nerdity. They are two people who I've met, I've known them from years ago. I think I met LUCIE Green, back in 2011 when she was a guest on, Museum of Curiosity. And then I met her hubby, Matt Parker, a few years later. He's part of the Festival of the Spoken Nerd. They are an extraordinary comedy troupe who do just the most incredible stuff. And these are two people who are they're obviously going to have a house packed with incredible stuff. So we'll see when Matt arrives and Lucy arrives. Matt, if you're here, give us a shout and give us a request to join this, and we'll get going. In the meantime, maybe I can show you some of the crap books. Oh, no, I'll tell you what. I'll show you firstly one book that I managed to pick up in W.H. Smith's. This is backwards, but this is Humble Pie. And this is Matt's book. It's an amazing book all about the comedy of errors that happen in the world of maths. And it is #1 best-selling book. So make sure you go and get it. This is actually, I found this in the W.H. Smith's of the hospital where we're giving birth tomorrow. It's one of about 10 books there. I got it during lockdown. It was a savior. But bizarrely, I've not been able to read it yet because my 2-year-old son, Wilf, won't let me read it, because every time I try to get it, he thinks I'm stealing his toy. This looks genuinely like a little toy. And he grabs it off me. So not been able to read much of it yet before he takes it away from me. So I'm going to show you, I guess, until he gets here. And if he pops up, everyone tell him to do the request thing. I'm going to show you before he gets here some of the shit that you guys have sent us. So very exciting. Here's one of the books. So I asked you, because we were talking about Rocky Flintstone last night, the author of My Dad Wrote a Porno, and we were talking to Jamie Morton, who was showing us incredible stuff. Again, I'll upload it in a few days. So here is one of the books that belongs to one of our viewers, which is he's called Vent.Mark. Check this book out. Old Tractors and the Men Who Love Them. How to Keep Your Tractors Happy and Your Family Running. Absolutely stunning. We've got no pictures from the inside, so maybe, Mark, you can send me a few of those. I'd really appreciate that. What have we got next? This is from Jenny Brown, 89. Cooking with Coolio. 5-star meals at a 1-star price. I actually have heard of this book. I've never seen it before. Really, really want to get a copy. Jenny has sent me the contents of the book. Let's check it out. So chapters include how to become a kitchen pimp, the 10 cool mandaments, appetizers for that ass, pimping the poultry, probably my favorite chapter 4, salad eating bitches, and chapter 11, sweet treats for that sweet ass. And of course, there's a pimp conclusion at the end there. So that's a real book that you can genuinely get. So I would do that if I were you. Here's another book that was sent. Sex Training in the Home. Fantastic title. And it's I've been sent extracts from it. It's a bit too much to explain right now what's inside there, but it's very backward towards women. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, so those are some of the books that we have been sent, and we're just waiting for our guest to arrive. So if you don't know this show, this is a show called Show Us Your Shit, or some Shakespeare, a pair of pajamas, and a mutton chop. And it's a show where, because we're all at home right now, I thought it would be fun to look at the inside items, the private collections of some interesting people around the world, and we could all step into their house together. So we're going to be doing that tonight with LUCIE Green and Matt Parker, who are still not here. I wonder where they are. I'm going to message Matt quickly and say, where you at? Where you at? Jane Milligan was meant to be on the show tonight, but unfortunately she was ill. I mentioned this at the end of last night's show. Jane Milligan is the daughter of Spike Milligan, and she's going to be on, I guess, when this show comes back, but not quite sure when the show is coming back as of yet. So we'll see. But Jane Milligan's going to be on. I got a nice message from the editor-in-chief of the Guinness World Records. He's going to be on as well, which is very exciting. And I've sent out about 50 requests now, because I think we should just do this nightly, regardless of the isolation. I just want this to carry on and on. So we're gonna continue to do that. Oh, I can see that Matt is saying hello. Matt, you probably got a request button. Give that a press, and I'll bring you into the conversation.
Here we go. Welcome to the party, Matt Parker and LUCIE Green, I think. This is totally in keeping with my shit show. This is fantastic. Hey! Yes! Yay! Hello, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Can you hear me?
All right. How are we doing? I think our connection's stable. Are we coming through?
Yeah, you're here now. You are loud and clear. So this is very exciting. Thank you for joining the show. Everybody, you're looking here at Matt Parker and LUCIE Green, the power couple of Nerdity. This is no greater couple exists out there. And presumably, as a result, have the most fantastic private collection of any nerd in the world. So Matt and LUCIE, welcome. This is a show called Show Us Your Shit. Brackets, or some Shakespeare, a pair of pajamas, and a mutton chop. I'll explain to you at the end of the show why that little bracketed bit is in there. But for anyone who's just joining, this is a show where we talk to interesting people about the interesting stuff that they have in their homes, and they show it to us. So there's 108 of us, and 109, including me. They're about to step into the home. So let's go. First item. What do you guys got?
Right. So we have a lot of nerdy things around our house, as you can imagine. Being a professional space scientist and a mathematician, so we decided to narrow it down to a single category. So we're only going for space things.
Okay,
so
great.
We have gone around our house and picked out some of the things that, actually some of the things that we tend to sort of take around and about with us to show people. So, and Matt was talking earlier, we were thinking about whether we could categorize the items that we've got. And we're going to start with
things that have been in space.
Oh, amazing. Yes, let's do
it. And we'll start initially things that have been in space deliberately, and then we've got things that have been in space accidentally.
Yeah.
You own objects that were accidentally sent to space.
Well, or accidentally ended up on Earth.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. Gotcha. Nice.
All will be revealed.
So actually the first one is something that you use in talks.
I do. So this...
It was originally a romantic gift from me.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So it doesn't get more romantic than this when you're looking for the gift for the nerd in your life.
Yeah.
A piece of spacecraft. So this is...
Can you hold it up right there?
Yeah. Hold it up.
It's that little fleck there.
Okay.
Did we ever decide what part of the spacecraft it is?
I think it's a bit of the oxygen tank.
Insulation from the oxygen tank.
That's worrying.
But it's
presumably.
It's a particular spacecraft that is one that's really interesting to me and has a kind of unexpected link to Matt being Australian as well. So it's a piece of the Skylab spacecraft.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if people who are watching, do you know about the Skylab spacecraft?
No. Can you give a quick rundown on what it is?
Yeah, so this was NASA's first space station, and it was made from the third stage of a Saturn V rocket. So it was an enormous beast. And
Well, why was it made of the third stage?
well, so obviously the Saturn V rockets took humans to the moon, and you needed those 3 stages of the rocket to get that distance.
Uh-huh.
But when you're going into low Earth orbit, you don't need the 3 stages. So the first 2 were used to launch the third stage to become a space
It was
station.
just empty. They're like, we got a whole empty cylinder. Let's just put it up there anyway and put some humans in it. It's great.
So it was a crewed space station, but on board they also had this really good suite of solar telescopes, which is why it caught my attention. And the astronauts who flew on this mission were trained as solar physicists before they went up, and it was their job, as part of their activities was to take observations of the sun and record activity and look at the sun in X-ray wavelengths and so on. But the reason that we have a bit of the spacecraft is that the spacecraft deorbited as a result of solar activity, expanding the atmosphere, and the spacecraft found itself in a sort of denser region of air, still very tenuous, but denser region of air around the spacecraft, and it eventually deorbited. And with the world watching, it came down and landed in Western Australia.
Cool.
So not, well, I was about to say
where I'm from there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And where were they aiming for?
Well, they were aiming for the ocean, any ocean.
There's a lot of ocean.
Yes, a lot of
There's
ocean.
so much
but
ocean. What are the chances of that?
How can you miss? How can
Yeah,
you miss the ocean?
but that's really low, right? I mean, genuinely, that's insane that it landed on land. That shouldn't happen.
It is, because
Barely.
there was no way to really control the space station as it came down. You could kind of change its orientation, so affect its drag and try and guide it a bit, but it didn't have any rockets on board that enabled you to land it safely in the ocean as you would do now. So it was kind of chance. Lucky dip, yeah. And,
That's so cool.
Western Australia got it.
And did you run out your house mat and pick up a piece, or?
It landed before I existed.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I impacted with the Earth in 1980.
Yeah.
And this was late 70s,
1979.
79. Just missed.
I think.
Right.
And it just clipped Esperance, for those people who know Southwest Australia. So it it hit land because it was broken up. There's a lot of debris, and the first bits of debris hit Esperance right on the coast, and then the rest of it was kind of scattered.
Oh, we've lost them slightly. I'll tell a Skylab anecdote while they're away. I read that Skylab, they had a massive issue with Skylab that they couldn't fix, and so they had to send some astronauts out to do a spacewalk to fix it. And the way that they fixed it was to hit it with a hammer, basically. They just gave it a big wallop. Ooh, they're gone. Do you know what? This is Matt is someone who is meant to have the greatest tech. Have you ever seen Festival of the Spoken Nerd live? This is an extraordinary group of people who have the most incredible technology. They can do things on stage that would blow your mind. Yet Matt doesn't have good internet. This is so bizarre. I'm sure they'll be back in a minute. Wouldn't be a shit show without it. You're right. In fact, anyone who's tuning in right now, let's quickly reiterate what the show is. It is called Show Us Your Shit. And it is a show where we are looking at all the interesting shit that belongs to some of the most interesting people in the world. 2 of them are sitting in a house right now with terrible internet, and they are Matt and Lucy. Lucy is awesome, by the way. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to Show Us Your Shit.
Hey,
my second guest looked like the first guest.
In no way means you've got good internet at home.
Hey, very quickly, what is I forgot my question now. Skylab. I was just telling an anecdote about Skylab when you guys disappeared, which is there was a big technical fault with it, I believe, and 2 astronauts went outside and they smacked it in order to fix it because that was the best way to do it.
No
Have you heard
way.
that?
I haven't.
Yeah. I read about that recently. Hey, this is very funny. We've got one of the guests who's, you've got all these comments coming up underneath.
Yep.
Joining us here is Rocky Flintstone, who is the author of the My Dad Wrote a Porno books, if you know that podcast. Rocky, awesome to have you here, buddy.
The previous episode of Show Us Your Shit.
Yes, exactly. Very, very cool to have you here. Very cool piece, guys. Why don't we move to your next item? What else you got?
Next piece. Okay, so let's other things that have been in space. So we'll do an accidental one. Should we do our wedding rings?
Okay.
So
yeah.
these we carry with us everywhere. Our wedding rings are made of meteorite. So this is just kind of those fun nerdy things. That they're both, it's iron nickel meteorite, and then they're backed by platinum because iron doesn't play well with human skin. So they've got like a protective layer on them, and they're both made from the same meteorite. It's the Gibeon meteorite, which was a prehistoric.
Yeah, prehistoric fall in Namibia. It's a bit
Right.
late to say that.
And there were tons of it. Like it just went everywhere. This was like tens of thousands of years ago. And because there was so much of it, it's one of the most common ones used in jewelry. And it's one of the most common ones you'll find when they have like the meteorite out to touch in a museum somewhere, like in a natural history museum.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they have a chunk like, oh, touch a meteorite, it's older than the Earth.
Yeah.
More often than not, that's a bit of the Gibeon meteorite. So we travel a lot with work, and we try and go on each other's trips, otherwise we wouldn't see each other. And so whenever we're in a city, we often visit the Science or Natural History Museum, and we'll try to find a chunk of it so we can reunite our rings with the...
That's so cool.
Together for billions of years in space, right?
That is amazing, guys.
And I'm like, hey, it's this year old, yeah. And
That's so cool. Hey, I've got you guys probably know the answers to this. Here are two things that I've said on Fish before about meteorites. Is it true that if something that is thought to be a meteorite turns out to be not a meteorite, they label it a meteor wrong? Is that a real thing?
Well,
I in no way doubt that. But
I feel like I really want that to be a real thing. I don't work with anyone who works on meteorites.
Right.
The Natural History Museum do, but it's got to be true.
It's got to be true, right? Here's the other thing I heard. So many searches for meteorites happen at the poles, and there's no greater reason to be looking for them there because they could be scattered anywhere. But apparently they do it is because it's all white there, so meteorites will just really stick out.
Yes.
Whereas,
yeah.
Is that true?
Well, actually, there's two reasons they go to the pole. One of them is because they stand out. That's genuinely a reason, and it's super obvious. Mm-hmm. The other one is because of the way some of the ice flows occur, they start to accumulate in certain places. Cool. And so if you go to like the edge of I'm not using the right terminology here, the movie Icy Bits, they move like really gradually, and then they do that sub thing, and they not an expert, so if you go walk along one of those edges, you're more likely to find it.
So we have a friend, Katie Joy, who gets to go to the Antarctic and scoots around on her snowmobile, looking at the dark spots on the snow. But also you could send a robot to scour over the surface and just identify the dark bits that stand out.
I really want to do one. I want to do a trip.
Well,
How did we get on that trip?
I've been searching for meteorites in Arizona.
Oh yeah,
have you?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. That was really great fun. So that was...
I wasn't there.
No, this was a long time ago. It was for a TV program. So all the interesting stuff is always when the media want to do it, right? And they get interested and they think, oh, I'll make a good story.
Yeah.
So we went to Arizona and I met this guy who was a meteorite hunter. And that's what he did. And so the method that he used was to get a metal detector. So you detect your meteorites that have got metal in them against the backdrop of the Arizona desert. So actually that was the first time I went hunting for meteorites. We didn't find any then, but later we tried in Leicestershire. So there was a fall, I think it was in the 1970s, and Patrick Moore made a TV program about it, and he was known for going to the area and talking to people and trying to get bits of the meteorite as well. And we decided to search that area with metal detectors. And one of the team found a tiny, tiny bit of meteorite that was then tested at the Natural History Museum. So that was hugely exciting.
Yeah,
so
that's
I haven't
amazing.
found any myself, but I've been on 2 hunts.
Well, I might have found some. Should we do
Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
that.
Shit.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
but before you show it, I do a thing because people are jumping in and out all the time. I reiterate the title and premise of the show. So everyone, welcome to Show Us Your Shit. This is a show where we gaze into the houses of interesting people and see all of their shit. We're all in isolation right now, surrounded by things we've collected our entire lifetime. Why not check out what that stuff is? And tonight we're talking to two amazing people. We're talking to Matt Parker and Lucy Green.
I go by Matt Green.
Yeah, you go by Matt Green. And we are a solar physicist and a mathematician. They are extraordinary power couple, and they are showing us our shit. So, what is next?
I do go by Mr. Green sometimes.
Do you?
To keep the academic title. So if I'm Mr. Professor Green. That's,
nice.
That's the policy.
Yeah.
So we thought some actual shits. This is a tub, and it's got what looks like rust and dirt floating around in it. And this is not going to be an in-depth one. This is it's full of bits of cling film with just dirt. And that's because when we had to get the gutters replaced on our house not long after we moved in. And as far as we can tell, they haven't been changed for decades.
Yeah,
possibly when the house was built in the 1930s.
Yeah. So 80 years. Yeah. More than 80 years.
But at least the newest they could have been is like the 50s. And we realized they would have been accumulating stuff that had run off the roof for decades.
Yeah. Right.
So I went and got all the sludge, all the disgusting, it was horrific. And I had to strike at the right moment because we had to get the scaffolding put up because they were doing the roof and everything. And then right when the builders weren't around, I climbed up because I'm not paying for scaffolding if I don't get to climb on it. Right. And then did a lap around, got all the gunk out of the gutters, diluted it in a bucket. And then I got a super strong rare earth magnet. And I'd wrap it in cling film and then put it and just move it around the gunk. And then this is all the magnetic stuff I managed to pull out of decades of runoff. I think a lot of that's rust from the old guttering. I don't think that's going to be interesting. But the rest of it, I'm assuming in here somewhere I'll have some micro-meteorites.
How cool would that be?
That's amazing. Can you find that out? How are you going to test for that?
Well, where I'm up to next. So I mean, we should look up. There's so many of these micrometeorites bombard the Earth constantly.
Yeah.
And they're just raining down, and they accumulate. Well, people look at the bottom of their downpipes, where if you got water runoff coming straight out, but guttering catches a lot of it. What I need to do now is go through it with a microscope.
Okay.
So we've got like a 400 times microscope. So it's a USB one. So one day I will live stream me. And I've just got to go through bit by bit and then maybe get some experts watching along because I don't know what's going on.
I have no idea how you identify
I'd go, that's
yeah.
I don't know. Is that a meteorite, right? But then, again, you have got contacts at the Natural History Museum, right? So then at some point we would need to get a best of and then go to the Natural History Museum and say, which of these are meteorites? And so my dream is one, even if there's just one in there, and this has been a long, ongoing project, but now I've got some extra time on my hands. So that's, man, you do some exciting live streams.
Please make sure I get an invitation to watch that. That's going to be awesome. That's amazing. Hey, Lucy, can I ask a very dumb question? So you're a solar physicist, and coronal mass ejections is a thing that you specifically study. Is there anything whereby any of these solar ejections can influence the trajectory of let's say a meteorite or something, and you can hunt down something physical on Earth that was involved with something you were studying in space from the sun as a blast?
Yeah, so these eruptions that I study, you're right, coronal mass ejections, the name doesn't really roll off the tongue very well, but it kind of does what it says on the tin. So they're eruptions of mass of stuff from the corona, which is the atmosphere of the sun. But they are, by the time they get out into the solar system, very low density. So, if you were to stick your hand outside of the Earth and capture some of the material as it washed over the Earth, the density would only be, I don't know, a few tens of particles in the in the size of a matchbox. They're really low density. So when they move over things, they don't exert much pressure unless the object's really big. So in on a planet, on the magnetic field of a planet, it exerts a pressure, but not things that are small. But what I was thinking of when you were talking was sunlight. So sunlight also has a pressure. And kind of to bring us back to asteroids and meteorites again, the rotation of asteroids can be affected by the pressure of sunlight over time.
Oh, wow.
You know, if there's one side, for example, that sort of preferentially gets sunlight falling on it, that pressure will start to affect the way that asteroid is moving. So that could be like a very long-term deflection strategy. Bob was coming our way.
Super long-term, yeah.
Shine some lights on it and make it go in a slightly different direction.
Yeah. Oh, having just what you said of deflecting and altering the and moving object in space, you did send me a brief list of stuff that you guys have in your house. Could I request an item for our next Show Us Your Shit? I understand that you have a prop from the movie Armageddon.
Do you want to get it? Or do...
I'll get it. I'll get it.
Yeah.
This is very exciting.
Long story. We bought this a couple years ago. I love collecting movie props. Do you want me to hold it?
Oh,
you wanna...
it's so delicate. You keep on talking and I'll move it around.
Okay. So in Armageddon, the 1998 Michael Bay film, they have to fly to an asteroid and then drill into it to then plant a nuclear weapon. And
oh my God.
When once they've landed on the asteroid, they have to they drive around on these armadillo things. And this is the drill head, and the side. This was all attached to the vehicles. They filmed it in scale, so this was meant to be like I think 4 times the size on the side.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, and so that's the drill head. So if you want to drill into a asteroid, kids, that's your drill head, and then the rest of this. How about if I'm going
to take that off.
Take that off. It's a bit precarious. So there's the whole thing. That's
my God, that's amazing.
So it was an on-screen use prop. Of course, it's from the United States, and then there's all the rest of it. And the reason we bought this is Lucie's Space Lab, where she works, actually developed drills for drilling into the surface of other planets.
We work on a mission. Somebody else built it.
Okay,
I think it was an Italian.
Details.
But but the point remains. So the next mission that Europe will send to Mars has got a drill to go into the surface of Mars.
Not based on this.
Not based on that. Did you help to develop that, Lucie? Or
no, not
just people in the lab that you know, right?
So the people I work with built the stereo camera that are sort of the eyes that will look at the surface of Mars, and then the drill will choose where to drill based on what the camera tells it. So, and we worked on the camera. I didn't work on it directly, but my colleagues do. But this was just such a good opportunity to be talking about space exploration in some films, you know, specifically Michael Bay films, versus the reality.
Like it's a famously inaccurate, scientifically inaccurate film.
Yeah, of course. Where did you get that from? How did you find that?
So I made the mistake of looking through a catalogue of movie props which were for sale, and this was about 2015. Company called Prop Store. It's dangerous. Don't even.
No.
Don't.
It's too much good stuff.
And no one else bid on it. No one else.
You're kidding.
I was like, I'll put in the minimum. No one else. No one collects Armageddon. What?
Surely they do. That must have been a glitch.
I know. And so, there you go. That was, so we got it. And we got
that is so cool.
The official certificate that goes with it to say this is officially an on-screen prop for the production of Armageddon.
Yeah.
And, we're thinking, when's this thing launching?
So the rover going to Mars launches in 2 years' time, so 2022. Just had a delay 2 years. So I guess we'll get that out a lot.
Well, we thought when we're like you're doing press and talks, because we does a lot of talks with schools as well, we thought it would be a fun prop to have when talking about drilling into other.
Yeah.
And this is very modest. Like obviously, it's that classic scientist. Like, oh well, I didn't technically work on that specific area of a particular thing. But you work in a space lab that build.
Yeah, that's true.
I came home to this on the dining room table one day. It's just it's been flipped, but removed before. I just walked in and this was on the table. No one else was home, and I'm like, well, I guess something's been launched. I don't know. You'd stolen it from a...
Yeah, Airbus make them. So Airbus is the company that built the Mars rover that we worked on. So it's their kind of corporate giveaway. So I've got to get one of those. I don't
get it before launch.
Yeah, I don't get it for any other reason. It's just a corporate giveaway.
Yeah. That's so amazing. Hey, can I just ask, there was a rogue sentence in there that you both collect a lot of movie props. What else have you got in the collection?
Well, I collect weird collectibles. I think the only other significant movie prop I've got is I've got one of the toes of the T-Rex skeleton from the first Jurassic Park film.
No.
So you know in the lobby where they walk in and there's like the massive skeleton, and it's got damage from when the Velociraptor was thrown into the skeleton at the end of the film. Like it's right, and so I've just got one toe, and it's in a case upstairs. I
mean, it's displayed like it is an actual,
thank you very much.
You know,
yeah, I got like a case for it.
And,
I've done some terrible like script, uncredited ghostwriting script work, and I was like, I'm going to use a bunch of this money on something stupid, and I spent it on a because Jurassic Park's like my favorite film, and so
man, that is incredible.
Yeah,
I love that.
But the bulk of the rest of the stuff is just weird things that we've collected, like the premise of this show. So
it's the whole point. My buddy who's he's watching right now, Ash Gardner, who he's doing a theme tune for this show, and he did the theme tune for No Such Thing as a Fish as well. If anyone needs music, he does awesome music. He knows someone who owns the island that they filmed Jurassic Park on.
wow.
So, and because it was one of those places, much like, you know, the old Popeye movie where Robin Williams played Popeye, that was made in, what country was it? It'll come to me, or maybe someone can put it in the comments. They built the whole set for Popeye's Village, and it's still there. It hasn't been taken down. So you can go and stay in Popeye's Village from the 1970s or 80s, whenever it was made. And the same is true for the island where Jurassic Park was made. They've left up the gates.
Left like the gates. And
yeah, that's all up there. And this guy owns the island. It's insane. I'm dying to see some photos from that. And you guys on an adventure must get there.
We have to.
Yeah, how do I? You got a birthday coming up every year you have a birthday coming up. Maybe for a significant birthday I can get you over there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already established what year I was born in, so I reckon people can do the arithmetic behind that one. There you go.
Malta is where the Popeye Village is, if anyone wants to go.
So where was Malta? Where's the Jurassic Island?
Ash, maybe Ash can mention.
Okay.
Yeah, Ash also knows a guy, and this is an incredible thing in Hong Kong, because we grew up in Hong Kong together. There was a guy who was living with his friend, who was a struggling movie star, and he moved into this family home, and the family surname was Van Damme, and his surname was not Van Damme. And when he left the house, he took their surname, with them, and Jean-Claude Van Damme is who that person is. So he has a different name, but he was living with the Van Dammes in Hong Kong. And then he was like, great surname. When he moved out, he just swapped his surname.
Having that.
I'm having some of the furniture and your surname.
And your surname.
Very, very cool.
That's so good.
Ash says Hawaii. Ash says it's in Hawaii.
Hawaii.
The Jurassic Park. Hey, we've gone quite a while. Let's remind people, if you're just tuning in now, you are listening and watching Show Us Your Shit. This is a show where we ask interesting people who are currently stuck at home to rummage through their house and show us the most interesting shit they've been collecting over a lifetime. We're talking to Matt Parker and Lucie Green, two awesome scientists and mathematicians. And they are showing us some awesome stuff, including, if you missed it, an incredible Armageddon prop just now. And we need to see the foot one day on a future episode that belonged to the T-Rex. So what's next?
Okay, shall we do the business card?
Oh, yes. Yeah. You messaged me about this.
We warned you about this one, didn't we?
Yeah.
We have Buzz Aldrin's business card.
Maybe you shouldn't give out his details.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, his
Fine.
deets.
It's
They've
fine.
probably they've probably changed.
His website is buzzoldrin.com. You didn't get it from us.
Yeah.
That's where you I don't think there's any the back. I didn't show the back. The back is with the phone number and
that's
everything
okay,
else.
right,
Okay,
yeah.
right, we're good. We're not in violation of it.
Oh, great,
We're
great.
GDPR compliant here.
So can we see it then? Can we see the bit that doesn't have
absolutely
details?
can. Yep. Okay. Right. So is that in focus-ish? I know it's
Nice.
split. So the back's got his phone number and everything else. So we're not going to flip it around.
Yeah.
But Lucy got this.
Yeah. So again, this is doing media stuff
Oh,
rather than
keep it on
work,
that
which
side.
is all the fun things come through that. So it was this was 5 years ago as well, I think, back in 2015.
Oh yeah.
And we had Buzz Aldrin on BBC Stargazing Live, and on that programme I was the person out in the field in the middle of the night under the cloud cover, desperately waiting for the clouds to part so we could actually do some stargazing.
If anyone's watched it, like Dara and Brian are in the studio.
Yeah, in the studio.
And they'll be like, "Oh, we're going to go to Lucy out in the field." Lucy's in the field. She goes, "It's cloudy," and they cut back inside, and that's
yeah.
And I was just out of shot with like a thermos of tea. That was my job.
Yeah, you were. yeah. It's a very important job. And so that year I had Buzz Aldrin on, so I was gutted that I was outside in the dark, in the cold. But at the end of the programme, we all got together and we do sort of a bit on the couch. And so he was still there on the couch, and I got to meet him at that point.
You sat next to him.
He sat next to him. It was so exciting. And
you got chatting.
Got chatting to him, and
I was like, "You've got to talk to Buzz. You've got to get a story out of this."
Oh.
Yeah.
And the story that I always wanted to get from him was the story about whether astronauts see the sort of sparkles of light in their eyes when they're in space, when they close their eyes. Have you heard of this?
Yes,
so,
yeah.
As high energy particles from space come through into your retina, where they deposit their energy, and you see little flashes of light. So I asked him about this, and he said, yes, yeah, I was like the first astronaut ever to see these flashes of light in my eyes. And
Got to be first at something.
So good story to get from him. And
very cool.
And he gave me his business card. But he also gave me, which perhaps I'm even more,
I don't know.
I don't know how to react to this actually, but he gave me this sticker too.
It says you are beautiful.
He has. Oh my God! Wow.
Well,
Lucy,
there's two options here. Either he has hundreds of them and gives them to everyone, or he only had one and he gave it to Lucy. And I don't know.
It's probably the latter. I mean,
I guess so.
We had.
I've kept these for 5 years.
Yeah.
Is that how long it's does it expire after 5 years? Or
I don't know.
Is it a token you can use at some point?
Yeah, astronauts, man.
I met him. He came on Museum of Curiosity, which you've been on, Lucy, and you've been on that.
You were done it, yeah.
Yeah, Lucy was in my tenure of it, and you did it just after I left, actually. In fact, you did the first episode after I left, the special coding episode, I believe it was, yeah. But so he came on Museum of Curiosity, and I found out something which I told him, and he was very unimpressed, and I was really shocked that he was unimpressed about it. I'd worked out that his dad, who was also he was a pilot as well, and he lived on an airbase, and he married Buzz's mum, whose surname was Moon. So already there's he's a pilot, he's married someone called Moon. And he used to fly with Buzz's mum's brother, so another Moon. He'd be in the air with another Moon. But on that base as well worked one of the Wright brothers, who he was a friend with, right? So Buzz Aldrin's dad knew the Wright brothers, or one of them at least, and also then got to see his son land on the moon as the second person. But when Buzz was born, they were living near this base, and they were on this base while the Wright brother guy was there as well. So I was saying to him, it's highly likely that as they were buddies, that you met one of the Wright brothers, but you were a baby and you wouldn't have known it. And he just did not give a shit.
Nothing.
He just didn't care.
It's not one of his stories.
Just was like, I have no interest in what you've just said. I've been to the moon.
I'm not here to absorb stories. I'm here to space. Been to the moon.
Been to the moon, mate. Yeah. But also, I saw him at the end of the evening, and this is a guy, he flew in to do our show, and he'd had a whole day doing other stuff, and he'd finished the show, and it was a late show, as you both know, museum runs for a long time. At the end of the evening, and I don't know if this is, scandalous to say, libelous, but he pulled.
Stickers, mate.
We were in it's the stickers. We were in a hotel room, and he went off with a girl to the hotel room. It was it was honestly, he was in his 80s. He'd done a full day. He'd flown on a plane. He'd landed. He'd done a show.
Wow.
I was more impressed by that than the actual moon landing. I was like, what? What are you? Where are you going? It's 12 a.m. Incredible, absolutely incredible. Why don't we get another item? And I'm conscious that all of us need early mornings in the morning, so we're going to stick to an hour with this one. So why don't we get one more item off you guys before we wrap up tonight?
What do you want to do?
Wow.
Shall we do?
It does mean he hooked up, by the way. Sorry, I said pulled. I'm seeing the comments here.
Yeah. For everyone else.
Translate the Aussieisms.
Let's do.
Yeah, we'll do
spacecraft quoting.
Yeah. So.
All right, we can very quickly do the bonus one. Doesn't count. This is just because we promised we had 4 things that have been in space. We've also got a NASA badge.
Cool.
Which, if you read the very small print on the back, it says, this medallion contains metal flown to the International Space Station.
Oh,
so
cool.
It doesn't say how much.
Or what it was.
Probably more of this has been in space than this, but some bit of scrap metal that went to the ISS, they then shaved a little bit off. And,
you should start making coins, Matt, off your Gusser meteorite.
I'm getting exactly. Yes. Part of this has flown to Matt's gutter. Lucy was given this by the administrator.
Yeah, of NASA. And
NASA,
I love the fact that the head person of NASA is called the administrator. Just sounds like a really boring job.
Yeah.
They're in charge of the whole of NASA.
They are the most important person.
Because Lucy organised them to visit a school where she's involved, and they're like, "Oh, the administrator."
They didn't want him.
Why would you like, no, he's been in space 4 times. Yeah, he now runs the whole show.
Wow. What's his name? Who is he?
Sorry.
Who is he? Who's the administrator?
So Charlie Bolden, who was administrator. Oh, I've forgotten when he stepped down. It wasn't that long ago. Yeah. So he was over from America, and because I'd done some work with the American Embassy, they said, we would like to send him to a school. And I said, I work with this school in London, the UCL Academy. Maybe, we could get him there. So I emailed the head teacher, and she was like,
the administrator?
Not sure. I said, no, he is the head guy, and he's actually an astronaut. And luckily, they got their schedule together.
Okay, right. So we're doing the last one. Okay, last one.
Last one.
So this is the last one. So this is a piece of the same material that is now flying in space on the European Space Agency Solar Orbiter mission, which is what we're loyal. We've got our
cool.
On. So
we had to make these ourselves. I need to make that very clear. So we went and bought, because we were at NASA for the launch, we went and bought NASA tops and then ironed off the launch patch, because they weren't selling like official launch tops. So we're like, we're not leaving without a launch top. So.
We need our mementos. So that mission was launched in early February this year. And of course, we were both able to go and see the launch. But this is a mission that I've been involved with, and scientists where I work, we've been working on science questions that we want this particular spacecraft to answer, and then engineers I work with have been building different instruments. So it's a really important mission for us, and it's a mission that goes really close to the sun. So at its closest approach, the sun-facing side will heat up to about 500 degrees Celsius, which you can imagine that would melt the metal soldering, or will it? Yes, because this material is what this Irish company MBio developed to.
This, or is it?
I don't think it comes out. No,
okay,
maybe leave it in.
It's behind plastic for safety purposes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See this black void that's reflecting the phone back?
Yeah. It's Vanta black. The black is black. Yeah.
It's solar black.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? It's called solar black.
It's called SOBAC. So it's a new material that was developed. but it's made of charcoaled cow bones, and that gives the material the right thermal properties, electrical properties to be able to make up this heat shield and protect the spacecraft.
Because it's got to be conductive.
Yeah, it's going to be electrically conductive.
Otherwise, you get static build-up in different parts of the spacecraft.
Yeah.
It's got to be super stable.
Yeah, it's got to last 10 years in space.
Can't fade, despite being next to the sun.
Yeah.
If bits come off, people get very upset if they get like flecks on their telescopes on the spacecraft.
It'd be very bad. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so they have this process where they blast off the oxidation layer of metal and then immediately hit it with charcoaled bovine. Yeah.
That is amazing. And is that so, because you worked on it, is that a piece that's just an extra bit of scrap that wasn't used, or?
Yes, well, I was slightly cheeky and I wrote to the company and said, hey, you know, I work on the mission, I talk a lot about the mission, why don't you send me a bit of the heat shield and I'll show it to people. So
that's so cool.
That was the deal. But
you know what?
I think
there's a big thing
on the mission have got little samples of it. I mean,
oh, we've lost them slightly. Let's see what happens. Quick tip, by the way, for everyone. If you've, this is a recurring thing that's been happening for the last 7 days. Turns out most people just get stuff just by asking, just by writing to people and saying, do you have a spare bit of that thing? Ken Plume with a space thing, so he did a few episodes ago. He got a can. They just sent it to him. They just said, yeah, you can have that. I mean, and it's an extraordinary thing. I've actually done that a few times. I've written off for stuff, and people have said, yeah, absolutely, you can have that. That I would say is the biggest tip. Hopefully they can make it back in time. When they come back, we're going to wrap this up. What we're going to do is we're going to ask them the one and only bit of format of this show, which alluded to at the title at the beginning. I might as well say again that you should check out their books. How cool is this couple? I love them so much. Every time we've hung out, that's the bit of the party you gravitate towards. And I actually did a stand-up gig last time I saw Matt was at a book launch, which was for this book launch, where he did it at the Sea Containers in London, which is just across the Thames. And it was an amazing thing. And he had a guy playing the piano, and you can look this up. He was basically explaining how a new decimal place of pi, I think I'm right in saying this, had been found, but they were cryptically revealing what they'd found via a composition, something like that. I'm sure Matt will tell us again. What is the book called? The book is called Humble Pie, a comedy of maths errors. And it was a Sunday Times bestseller for a long time. And Matt turned this into a stand-up show, which he took to Edinburgh Fringe last year, sold out completely. And it's just brilliantly funny. Like, he has a big crack at the fact that footballs, the shape that they have, they always get it wrong on signs. And particularly one thing about the moon, how the moon is always misrepresented in books and kid books and so on. And he lists them all, and whoops, they do this amazing live show, which is Festival of Spoken Word, but it's a sort of work in progress show, which is called An Evening of Unnecessary Detail, which you must check out if you're in London. It's an absolutely awesome evening. You see just lots of scientists on stage suddenly turning what they do into an actual stand-up routine. So yeah, so cool. We'll get them back in a second. They've just re-requested to come in, and we'll wrap up. I should also show you actually Lucie's book, which I have at home, but I'm not at home at the moment. I'm isolating at my in-laws in the countryside. And it's a book which is fantastic, as you can tell. Like, what a job, what a career she has. So this is at 15 million degrees, a journey to the center of the sun. And yeah, it's just a book about the sun. And hey, hi guys, welcome back.
Welcome back. Everyone in Surrey is connecting to the internet at 10:36 at night. So what's
They're tuning into this. It's massive in Surrey. We're huge. Yeah, we're gonna wrap this up now. So I'm gonna quickly say thank you, but before we wrap it up fully.
We heard all your fantastic plugs, by the way.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
very
Oh,
much.
hey, no, it's I love, and I was saying at the top of the show, I don't know if you heard, but I've got this book. I found it in the hospital that I'm going to have my son in tomorrow. It was in the W.H. Smiths, and it's I've not been able to read it yet because my 2-year-old son keeps taking it off me because he thinks this is his toy, this plane on the front, and he
Ah.
honestly won't let me. He won't let me read it. He just holds it, thinking I'm stealing his toys. But I wanted to show you very quickly. There's a book that I'm curious if you know about, Matt, which is because this is a very, very interesting book about maths. And this is a book that was this was tweeted by Una McCormick, who writes Doctor Who books. Have you heard of this?
Is it
Mathematics for Engineers by Dull and Dull.
No. Oh, that's amazing.
I don't know anything about the Dull brothers or husband and wife, but I really want to find out. Okay, let's get to the end of the show.
Great.
So,
Oh, we have
the
no.
show is called Show Us Your Shit, or Some Shakespeare, a pair of pajamas. Oh no, are you guys there? Are you there? Okay, so the show is called Show Us Your Shit, or Some Shakespeare, a pair of pajamas, and a mutton chop. Oh no, we're breaking up. Surrey's internet. Yes, we're back.
Are we back? I think we're back.
We apologize.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go. All right, and we got because Instagram lives cut off at an hour, so we've got 7 minutes left, or 6 minutes left now, or it's already. Let's do this. So show's called Show Us Your Shit, or Some Shakespeare, a pair of pajamas, and a mutton chop, and it's called that because when P.G. Wodehouse was living in France and the Nazis were descending on his house, his wife and him worked out they had 10 minutes to leave the house. She grabbed a suitcase and said to him, grab the most important things in the house. And the 3 things he took was some Shakespeare, just a copy, a pair of pajamas, and a mutton chop. So I'm going to ask you the same thing. You've got the suitcase. You've got those 3 items. You could fit one more thing in. What are you taking from your house?
Oh, we're going to run and grab one thing.
Oh, that's hard.
And they never told us.
Come on, I think are we back?
Yep.
Are we back?
I can hear you.
Okay.
We can hear you. Yes, we're here. We're here.
Good,
We can
good.
do this.
I mean, at the moment, I'd go and grab the sourdough culture I've been slaving over for the past week to start from scratch because we're running dangerously low on yeast. I'm gonna have to farm my own yeast. But I don't think that would be the one thing we. You know what it would be? We don't tend to celebrate wedding anniversaries on the year. We celebrate every 500 days. And because that's a better anniversary to celebrate. A bit less frequent, it rolls through the year, and then you get your 500,000 multiples. It's amazing. However, we do make a concession that on multiples of 5 years wedding anniversary.
Are we still there?
We're back. We're back.
Okay,
We
sorry,
take a
you cut out
photo.
there slightly. You cut out slightly.
So every 5 years, wedding anniversary, we take a photo of us with the previous wedding photo. Because we want to have like a series of photos like of us aging as you walk down a corridor or up the stairs.
Yeah.
And we're only 2 deep, but they're printed out. So I would go and grab.
You're right, and I know exactly where that is.
I know where that is. We
So
can
I
grab that.
it
Yeah.
quickly. Yeah.
Amazing.
Back that up to the cloud, but just to be safe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll be very sad if we lost that.
That's a good
I
one.
think that's the perfect. That's stunning.
We visibly aged.
What a
between
great
them,
one.
So I couldn't recreate that from scratch.
No, I want pictures of looking young.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is such a lovely thing. Guys, thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it. And I think everyone else who's been watching does as well. I think they're in love with you both. I think they want to give you a "You Are Beautiful" card as well. I'm going to print some up and send them to you. But okay, if they disappear. But Yeah, no, but guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'd love to get you back on and see some of your other stuff. That was too quick. You've got too much awesome stuff. And if anyone
We
wants
got
to
more
follow
shit to
these
share.
guys, what's that, buddy?
We got more shit to share. Don't worry.
Yeah,
We'll
I
do it
need to
again.
see more of your shit. Yeah.
It'll be fun.
So this show is now going to be paused for a few days while I go and have a baby. But when it starts again, I've got awesome guests lined up. The editor-in-chief of the Guinness World Records is going to be on. Jane Milligan is coming on, who is the daughter of Spike Milligan, and she's gone through her attic and found all amazing Goon Show and Peter Sellers memorabilia from all the years of movies of her dad's career. And just a shitload more people. So tune in again. I'll keep everyone up to date. Otherwise, follow Lucy and Matt on Twitter, where I think you guys mainly are usually.
Yeah.
Can you say your handles very quickly? They can't. It's at Matt. It's at Stand Up Matt for Matt. I'm going from memory here, and Dr. Lucy Green.
Yeah, Dr.
That's
Lucy Green.
That's
I'm
it.
Stand Up
Dr.
Matt on
underscore
everything.
Lucy.
So, there you go.
Guys, love you. And Stand Up Matt on everything. Yeah, guys, love you so much. Thanks for doing this. Everyone else, take care. Stay isolated. Stay healthy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right, guys. I'll catch you all later. Have a good night.